Capricorn, welcome to your end of November 2020 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. And some of the astrological events that are coming up in the near future, we have Mars going direct on the 13th. And this is in fellow cardinal sign Aries. So this is going to be in the 4th house of home and family for you. Maybe there have been renovations you've been trying to make in your home and something has kept you from being able to do that, and it's been very frustrating, or some other conflicts with the mother or the family of origin, or some developments that have not been able to occur, and now you'll be able to see those plans start to become more possible. Also, on the 14th or 15th of November, depending on where you live, we have a new moon in Scorpio, harmonious angle to you, sextile, and that is coming from the 11th house, which is the house of hopes and wishes, friendships, social interactions. And so this can be some kind of a new goal that you have, and this would be more of a long-range goal. This can be like more of a general type of a dream of yours that you want to fulfill. Maybe joining a new group, having new friends, things of that nature. Or if you already have your friends, maybe it's been making a resolution to meet once a week because you've realize that you haven't been seeing one another for quite a while, something like that. And then at the end of the month, we have a lunar eclipse at 8 degrees of Gemini, and this is going to fall in, what house will that be for you? Looks like the 6th house of work. So that could be very interesting. Some of you, it may actually fall in the 5th house of love and romance. But if it falls in the 6th house, it could have some implications for the workplace, some change of sorts, maybe a promotion. The full moon, this is a very powerful full moon that brings things to some kind of either a crisis point, a culmination. If somebody's working at a job and maybe it's like getting this promotion that you didn't even expect, and it's a really big promotion, like you leapfrog into a whole new category. Okay. It's funny because the first card I got was the Eight of Wands, which is really about things moving forward. That kind of like when I was talking about Mars going direct, of like okay. So we have a couple of major arcana cards. We have the Hermit and the Judgment card, and so that's interesting. So the heart of the matter is the 8 of Wands, which is a card of things taking off, maybe all of a sudden. And so you're kind of being fielded with all of these offers or activities happening after kind of a lull in the action. And then all of a sudden everything is jumping into action. And that can be very... that can feel really good if you've been idle, if you haven't been as active as a Capricorn usually is. A Capricorn is usually very active. So if you haven't been that way for whatever reason, and I'm looking at the past position to kind of gain more insight, then, this is very contemplative, kind of, certainly you have these planets in your sign that may have lent more of that flavor of the contemplative to your life, like Saturn has gone back into your sign since July. So you have Saturn in your own sign. Saturn rules you. But even though Saturn isn't really like a spiritual influence, it's a karmic influence. And I think of the 12th house, which is a house of the hermit, that can be the hermit, the 12th house. And actually the sun is going into that house on November 21st. That was something I haven't really mentioned when I'm talking about the transits. But this is a past position, so this may have been something this year. Well, I mean, for everyone, there may have been a lot more solitude or keeping within a small circle of people than a normal year. So I think of Capricorns this way anyway. I don't think that you're like these big social animals. Even if you do have friends. I'm not saying you're a total loner, but I think that you have the capability of spending a lot of time alone. And the hermit is really, though, about soul searching. So I typically think of the hermit when I think of somebody who is going through some kind of a crisis in their life or some kind of, choice that they have to make, maybe midlife time, when they're taking stock in the choices that they've made, and are you happy? Are you doing what you want to do? And the other thing too is that you have Pluto. You've had Pluto in your sign for 12 years thus far, and Pluto really transforms the person. So if you have Pluto transiting your sun, it's going to change perhaps even your aspirations, what you want to do. But in addition to that, it can change the way that you view life. And and you have Jupiter, so that's philosophical. So you have these 3 planets in Capricorn. And in addition to that, perhaps other things that have happened in your mundane life that have made you think, like, what is it that I want? But whatever has been in the past, and maybe you, like, if this is a relationship and you have stayed alone, maybe you've gotten divorced or moved out of a shared space with somebody so that you can have your own life. It was also a way to kind of contemplate where you've been. And now it's like everything just taking off and feeling like everything is coming at you. The higher message is the 4 of Swords, and this can be a card of rest and relaxation. So this may have been saying that you did the right thing, or that perhaps if you have been forced, if the hermit was like a forced isolation for some reason, that, I think of the 4 of Swords as like an intentional desire to perhaps retreat from the world. And with the 8 of Wands, you may be tempted to just jump right into things and become as ambitious again as you used to. Perhaps you've come from a period of unemployment and you're getting several offers and you're just like chomping at the bit to go back into the fray, if you will. But the problem is that you have to be careful that you don't overdo it. The 4 of Swords can be a card of physical rejuvenation, which is necessary if somebody has pushed themselves too hard. And so it can point to, this is a possibility if you don't take care of yourself. And also with the 4 of Swords, it might be that you have been physically alone or spending a lot of time alone, but you've still been talking a lot. The swords are about communication. So maybe you still have to lessen your social media interactions and talking in general, so that you can really tune into your higher self and what it is that you want. The challenge is the Queen of Wands. This can be, if this is somebody in your life, this may be someone who is trying to control you in some way. Maybe it's a parent, and even if you're middle-aged, you may still have this person trying to tell you what to do. This person may not feel very powerful themselves, and so they're using their position, and that's why I say, like a parent who has adult children, who doesn't really have that sense of authority over them anymore, but still kind of has that mentality that they are, controlling their children, because they haven't found out what their inner power is. So they're looking for external sources to throw their weight around, so to speak. And same thing with a boss. If you have left a job and maybe a person had some kind of vendetta against you, maybe that's what the Queen of Wands is, and they kind of poison the well. You may have to, if you're in a certain industry where they can badmouth you, that person may be a secret enemy. I don't like to talk about things like that because it sounds kind of paranoid and negative, but it's not going to be true for too many people. But for those that it might be true, then you know what I'm talking about, where you might be getting other offers, and then they say, can I call your former boss? And you might not realize what the true reason was. If they let you go and they gave you one reason, maybe this person felt that you were threatening their job. Because the Queen of Wands in the challenge position can be someone who is like a diva, who throws their weight around. And it's funny, I want to see what they say. I have this tarot book that I'm afraid to talk about the Queen of Wands because I got chewed out for it. And I was talking about the upright position. So I'm just going to read from my Tarot Plain and Simple book about, I'm reading this as a reversed card because it's in the challenge position. And what they say, it's the shadow side of the feminine. The key words and phrases: egotism, narrow-mindedness, unbridled ambition, jealousy, demandingness, moodiness, manipulation, deception, lies, strictness, blackmail, hatred of male authority, neuroticism, feminism gone awry, penis envy. The ends justifies the means. A neurotic and rigidly inflexible woman may interfere with your plans by insisting on getting her own way. This ruthlessly ambitious woman will use any means at her disposal to get what she wants. You or somebody close to you may be resorting to emotional blackmail to block another's efforts at independence. Don't try to impose your values on others. So basically, this person is, now that I think about this could even be a mother-in-law who's like an ex-mother-in-law now. And she feels like, how dare you diss my son like that by leaving him. And so she may be bad-mouthing you. I often say that the kings and queens to me can be narcissists, especially if they are in the reversed position. And by narcissist, I mean people who feel that they have authority over others, that they are entitled to certain things that they're not entitled to, and that they kind of stick their noses everywhere. These people can be very destructive, and they can be people that are in your life not because you chose them, but because, when you go get hired at a job, you're just going there for the job. You're not, you can't control who works there. Maybe there's a change of management and you get this type of person. So one of the things that could be happening here is that if you are still employed at a certain place and the boss, told you that you had to have your hours cut or there was some reason, you may have other options and things may be kind of opening up for you. And you're not sure if you really want to deal with such a person because they may not be, your advocate. They might not be your friend, this authority figure. And another thing too is, even your parent, depending on how old you are, but it really doesn't matter. It can, even when people are middle-aged, they can still have parents who place demands on them. But let's say you're in your earlier mid-20s and you've graduated college and you're getting these offers, and some of them involve travel. You might have a parent who doesn't want you to, go too far away, and they may be very overbearing, and they're kind of stepping their authority, still thinking that they have that kind of control over you. And that might be very upsetting to have to contend with. So it's interesting, though, that the two cards on top are kind of cards of solitude and contemplative living. And then we have the card in the middle that's more like about things starting to rock and roll. And so it's like, have you learned the lessons of that period of solitude? Is a question that I have. What's coming in is the Five of Pentacles. Now, the Five of Pentacles sometimes can be, can be advice too. Sometimes the Five of Pentacles can indicate that the person is experiencing financial difficulties, unemployment, but the flip side of this can be poverty consciousness. So even though you are unhappy at a job, you stay with it because, and you're getting new, you're fielding job offers, you stay where you are because you're afraid that anything else is you're not really sure how it's going to work out. So it's like the devil the Queen of Wands in reverse is the devil And nobody, can tell another person what to do, especially if they feel uncomfortable, insecure about their finances. And maybe if you've had your hours cut or you've been furloughed, and now that you're coming back, you're not feeling that bravery or even feeling like it's a smart thing to do to just change now. So only you can know if that is true for you, but make sure that you're not operating from a fear-based mentality. Sometimes people may be out of work, but they have money saved, and it's not like they're just not able to pay their bills in the meantime, and that they're taking like some kind of like a crazy risk, but they're just excessively cautious. And it's very interesting that the outcome card is the Judgment card. This is the card of rebirth, but it's also the card of, going through the fire. That's why I say the rebirth of going through the fire. And what that would mean is that in order sometimes for us to expand, we have to experience the contraction of something else. So an example would be if you have lost your job, you might say, something, I don't want to ever be in the position where my livelihood is dependent on somebody else. I'm going to start my own business and be very adamant that you're going to do that. Now, of course, you can't guarantee, even if you have your own business, that you're going to have sales. So it's not like a done deal no matter what. There are no guarantees in life, but you may feel like you have a lot more autonomy and the ability to, you have a lot more freedom to make changes as need be if you're working for yourself. So that might be something like, I'm never going to experience that again, where I have to wait to find out if I am going to go back to work, where I can't just make that decision for myself. For other people, this may be about, you reap what you sow. If you're very like financially cautious and conservative, and you feel like I don't like this person, and maybe because of being by yourself or working from home or what have you, you haven't had to deal with that person for a long time. And so now that if you're going back into the workplace or whatever is changing, you may realize how negative an impact that person had on your life, but still may be reluctant to leave. If this is a job that has overtime, where you have to work long hours, because with the Four of Swords, it's kind of reminding you that, you have to make sure that you don't, that you keep yourself replenished. And if you're in that kind of a thing where it's a very demanding kind of a job, then you have to accept the effect of that. There's causes and effects in life and anything that we do. And is the cost benefit ratio, what is that? Is it, do you gain more or do you lose more in the long run? And again, only you know exactly what your circumstances are and what the type of work you do, the effect it has on you, to be able to determine that. But it does seem like things are starting to open up for you. So I guess it's up to you now. Okay, that's what I have for you, Capricorn. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Thank you. Bye.